What's up, everybody? Welcome to But Then What? We're so excited you're here. I can't wait to dive in with my amazing co-hosts. Please introduce yourselves. Let the people know who you are.
I go first.
Go first.
My name's Austin Taylor. Always known sometimes as Sailor Scott Austin. That's Sailor SCT Austin on the internet. My pronouns are he, they, she.
I'm Youngles, or Jenn, depending on how you're feeling. And my pronouns are she, they, and you can find me at Jenn Geeky on Twitter or Youngles
yeah.
on Instagram.
We're all here today to tell a 100% improvised story for you, top to bottom, start to finish. We only know one thing about the story for today, and that is going to be high fantasy. So if high fantasy is your jam, stick around. If it's not, maybe try it out again. Yeah, you might like it this time. So if this is your first time here, we're going to go around taking turns telling a story, picking up where the last person left off until we completely tell a full prose-like story from start to finish. We will all have 3 minutes per turn. There will be a lovely chime sound between each person's turn, and we might say, but then what, a few times in between those turns. I have a random plot generator here. We know we're going to tell a fantasy story, but we don't know much more than that. And so I'm going to generate a little bit more info for us to get started. And I'm going to click the button. Okay. Our protagonist is a knight who can be brisk. A secondary character is a sorcerer who is innocent. And it says that the plot is a heroic fantasy story about finding courage again. It kicks off in a quaint abode with a death in the family. How are we feeling about that? Thumbs up?
Sorry,
Thumbs
there's
up.
a very loud garbage truck outside my window.
Oh.
So I was muted. Yeah, I'm good to go. Brisk is like...
I just looked it up myself.
Like rude? Like they like right, am I thinking of brisk right? Like someone who's brisk is like very short and okay.
Yeah, it says abrupt or offhand in speech or manner.
Okay, my brain was like brisk iced tea, but that was like, that can't be right.
I was thinking about like a chill.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like brisk weather.
We need more words in English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Similar words are blunt, short, sharp, terse, clipped, abrupt. Yeah, you got it.
That is not how I would spell brisk.
I know, right?
Okay.
Cool. A sorcerer who is innocent, and a story about finding courage that kicks off in a quaint abode with a family death. Nothing like bringing folks together than someone leaving the world. Right. All we have to do now is to figure out the order of who goes first and who goes last. I'm going to think of a number between 1 and 10. I have said number.
My answer is no, Scott. You said between 1 and 10?
1 and 10, yeah.
1 and
7.
10. 1 second. 5. 3.
All right, my number was 7.
Wow.
No joke.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Ah.
That means Jen's starting us off.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. We'll get that timer going. And if you need more time, we can
No, I'm
some
good
more.
now. I just had a family thing I had to handle for a second. Okay. All right.
Ready?
Yeah. Our story opens up in a castle in the middle of a very dark, mysterious forest. And as the camera zooms in through the entrance and down the hall, it's all like gray, cobblestone-y type, spliced together. I wouldn't call it a great castle. And you see a knight in very run-down armor, just holding his head in his hands, his sword at his side, sighing and like holding back tears as the camera kind of like zooms away from him and looks over and sees like a crowd in a banquet hall. And at the very front, a man gets up. He is maybe assuming himself as some type of leader. But it doesn't seem like anybody else really cares, as like they're just going about their time conversing with one another, getting at the banquet of food that's there. And the man hits a goblet with whatever they are eating with, a fork or something, and goes, excuse me, attention. Attention! And everyone kind of the murmuring side, and they look up at him, and he goes, we are all gathered here today to celebrate the passing of our dear beloved queen. At the hands of the enemy. And I just want to say that while we find a new queen, I will be taking over rulership of the land from now on until that day. And the camera pans back as this man has a gleeful look on his face, kind of eerily evil, and goes back to the knight who raises his head. And instead of sadness, he now has like his face kind of changes, or their face kind of changes from like this horrid look to like determination. That's all I got.
But then what? That horrid look turns from sadness to determination. The stains of tears streaming down their face, the redness, the puffiness of their eyes shining through as their blood-splattered, rusted armor sits adjacent to the glitz and glamour of this banquet hall in the castle. The queen's private security, they had failed. They had failed in protecting her from the enemy. But now, they could redeem her. And as they stare up at this man, they know they must muster their courage again to redeem their queen's death. Do what they couldn't and stop this evil hand to the queen from taking the throne. As this inner pep talk is happening, there is a crash to the left side of the night towards where servants and maids are bringing forth the trays of food for the banquet. Someone has fallen, a young girl. She wears modest clothing, and although she wasn't serving the food herself, she helps the servant stand back up put the things back on the plate. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Everyone in the room has stopped and is staring at this commotion of metal clattering against this gray stone of the castle. I wasn't looking. I'm sorry. I was... Oh, no. And as she helps the servant, our knight sees that it's not just hands moving metal. It's magic moving metal. Illusion of different types of small creatures, forest-dwelling creatures, holding up these goblets and platters and putting them back on the tray onto the table. This wasn't her fault. This is my fault. She yells to the room, making sure that no one will be in trouble except for her. So sorry, back to business. And she waves her hand and little sparkles of magic just kind of float down. The magic seems to be inherent in who she is and her being itself. The rest of the party just murmurs. The knight hears from a group of people closest to him. That she just never learns. She always away. But then what?
The knight walks over to this girl and says, Henrietta, what are you doing here? Henrietta looks up at the knight. Well, okay, you see, so I came because of gestures to the entire room and everything going on. And the knight nods, like, of course. And she's like, well, there's something I have to show you. And hurriedly takes the knight by the wrist and starts walking fast through the castle hallways. They go up a parapet and down a different parapet until they're off in, like, closer to where Henrietta stays in the castle. She is definitely not the court mage by any means whatsoever, but she is closer to the idea of like a jester. The queen enjoyed having her around and pretty much just left it at that. She's like, I just like having this girl around. She's fun. Henrietta speaks in a quick and hushed tone. Okay, so the queen was assassinated and you guys failed, and I know that that's really hard on you, but they have apprehended someone they think could be the culprit. To which the knight, their eyes sort of alight with fire. Because they're certain the culprit is standing up there right now next to the queen's body, boasting about how they're going to handle running the country. Henrietta says, I know what you're thinking, but I don't think it's who did it. I'm sure you've noticed Sloane is missing. And the knight sort of is standing against the wall and stands upright and says, your twin sister? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. That's who found the body, and he had her taken away. Umbraxel had her put in the dungeon, and I haven't seen her since. The knight lets out a heavy sigh and says, okay. Umbraxel is the court mage, strongest wizard in all the lands. I have been building a case on him for close to 2 years now, and the queen wouldn't listen to me. I'm no match for his magic. Neither are you. Henrietta gives a little, Listen, you got spunk, kid, but you couldn't take him down. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna need to be much better equipped, have a lot of evidence, and probably make a visit to the pool of forgotten memories. Henrietta gives a very worried look. I know, but I've been running for this for too long, and I can't see the queendom go down like this.
But then what?
Okay, so Henrietta looks at the knight and goes, well, if the first step is being better equipped, that's your job, right? Because you have access to the equipment. And I think that maybe we should, or do you mean like food and stuff? And starts rambling on a list of all these things that they could potentially need that may not have anything to actually do with what's at hand. Just overthinking. And the knight kind of stops her and is like, Henrietta, no. Okay, yes. Let's make it. Okay, we need. How about I will get better equipped, as in I will do my best to rally up the knights, not rally, but maybe quietly kind of have a discussion, see what's going on. They're probably going to come call for me soon anyway. And you do your best to find some evidence. So maybe we can do this quietly a little bit. And Henrietta gets pulled out of her thought process, and you want me to find evidence? Okay, yeah, I'll go do that. And as they're walking away, or they turn around to kind of go their separate ways, and we see another knight coming up to our main knight person, being like, we need you down in the dungeon area. We found the person that assassinated the queen, and I just want your opinion because you leader guy knight person. And the knight is a little confused because he's not a leader guy knight person. He's just a little guy, and so this is suspicious. And the knight follows. Of course, totally this is normal. And starts following, goes down with the man, kind of looking around and seeing how there's a lot of people that are actually very unbothered by what is happening. They don't seem as sad. They don't seem like they're here to mourn the loss of our great queen. They seem more, with every passing minute that goes by and everyone that the knight looks at, like they're starting to feel better? Forget, maybe? And as he's walking through the hallways, he hears little chatter of like somebody mentioning, oh, the queen's just on a long holiday. And my time's up.
Yeah. Sorry, I was writing notes.
No, you're fine.
The queen is just on a long holiday. I mean, she'll be back soon. Umbraxel's just standing in for the moment. It's fine. And as our knight, Gerard, enters this room and hears these conversations, he sees with his own small magical abilities that something has spelled the punch. And as he looks over, he sees that same evil smile on Embraxel's face, now standing in the corner, watching over all these people imbibing in the punch. More and more people around Gerard start to say similar things. Oh, I've heard the coast is beautiful this time of year. I hope the queen is having a splendid time. The summer house, I've heard, is great. I've never been. I've always wanted. She's never taken me, but maybe next time. At this point, we leave Gerard in the banquet hall and head back to Henrietta, who, having lived in the castle, knows lots of small passageways and stairwells to sneak around, similar to that of a maid or someone who's meant to keep house. She meanders her way through these corridors and past different knights marching through until she comes out on the side of the castle into a glowing green, effervescent field of crop. She's made it outside. She knows the way to the pool of forgotten memories. It's the only way to get the evidence that she needs to clear Sloane's name and save her sister. She just hopes that Gerard doesn't piss anyone off on his own mission with the way that he communicates. As she walks through this field of grass, the bioluminescence just seems to sway and flow and react to her passage through the tall tendrils. Different night creatures and the moon shining full overhead, all peaceful, adjacent to the inner turmoil that she feels inside herself. She continues through the grass towards the woods and the pool of forgotten memories. Gerard, in the banquet hall, is unsure what to do. Should he go follow this knight through the banquet, who's now standing on the other door, waving him along? But then what?
Or does he handle this the way he usually does? Slash first, ask questions never.
Yes.
He thinks about it for a long moment, and the knight, ushering him along, sort of gets impatient, turns like, what's the holdup? And instinctually, like, puts a hand on the hilt of his sword. Gerard says, now, Eugene, you and I both know who trained you how to use that thing. You and I both know if it comes to that, well, I would hate for Catherine to celebrate the solstice alone. Eugene sort of like puffs up his chest. Just come with me, Gerard. Please, it'll be easier. Oh, it could be easier, but it would not be nearly as fun. And chaos breaks out in the banquet hall. All of the knights draw their weapons. Umbraxel is hurried into a back room. The partygoers all take out various weapons. Every single one of them is strapped in some way, shape, or form. Some fire up magic, some take out daggers. And Gerard says, oh, now this is a banquet. You see him just extend one hand out, and he's like, I really hope this fucking works. And he's like sitting there waiting as one of the knights behind him runs at him, and we see her, and this rusty old sword flies to his hand, and he is like, I owe the Mage of the Woods a thanks and an apology. And he swings this old sword back behind him, blocks a blow in the front. He kicks over one dining table and picks up a huge platter and starts using it as a shield as he's fighting off an entire room of partygoers. We hear clang and scream and slashes. One person says, that sword can't be clean! As it digs into them, we hear the hard noise of metal on metal blowing in from the outside as the camera follows the breeze to Henrietta, who's just standing there like, no, he'll be fine. He's gonna handle it normal this time, for sure. Who goes back to walking. She reaches the end of the Field of the Sun and starts approaching the dark wood. She stops for a moment. The last time she was here was bad. It was bad. She knows the Watcher of the Darkwood doesn't want her back, but this is the only path forward.
But then what?
As she's walking, lost in her thoughts, every caw, every chirp, every rustle sends her head into a panic, kind of trying to keep her wits about her, trying to focus on the mission, but this is a scary place for her. And you never know who's lurking, who's shapeshifting, who's following you, and what the trees are talking about. As they murmur to each other through ground quakes, with every step that she takes. And she starts to feel like she's being watched. heavily. So she panics a little and starts picking up her stride faster and faster and faster, focusing on getting to her destination until she realizes that she is completely lost and has no idea what this parts of the woods are, as they've changed so much since she last entered them. All of her normal landmarks don't seem to be, or maybe they're moved. Because I swear, as she looks around, that there was a stump here that had moss on it and it's missing, but everything else looks similar. I'm not sure. And as she's wandering, she hears a voice from behind her. Go back. You don't belong here anymore. And she stops, looks around, and kind of enters into this freeze as more voices start coming over her, like, you don't belong here. You probably should leave. And she starts cowering into herself, screaming, just leave me alone, just leave me alone, just leave me alone, until all of a sudden a big burst of light comes off of her and pummels through the forest, sending a shockwave through the ground, really pissing off the trees. They were not happy about it, but they're fine. And the voices disappear as she feels like some sort of power just like wash over her. And she sits there stunned, just looking at her hands, feeling this energy, but not knowing what it is.
Her hands look the same. Her body feels the same. She's never cast that kind of magic before. And as she sits there in awe, the leaves and detritus that would be around her normally where she had fallen onto the ground, pushed aside, she sees a small wooden door, almost to a cell, like to a cellar or to an attic, has been revealed. Huh. I knew I was going the right way. No thanks to you. She looks over at the trees. The one she glares at kind of shudders. She feels a little rumble under her feet. She pulls the heavy iron round handle of the door and opens it up with a creak and slams it down onto the earth on the other side. And inside seems to be a beautifully polished purple stone staircase. The walls and ceiling all match this purple as she remembers coming here as a child with her twin sister Sloane. This is where her parents took them to begin their initiation into being mages. And she hasn't really been back since. A wave of sorrow and fear hits her for her sister. Gerard is absolutely doing his job, she thinks. And as we flash back to said Gerard, holding Platter as shield, daggers being thrown at him, tables knocked over, the guests of the banquet, since mostly exhausted, hide behind their own table. "What do you want, Gerard?" someone yells from behind the table. "We only have 3 daggers left. Are you trying to kill us?" Gerard just stops. He's still holding the platter up, but he looks over. "I'm not trying to kill you, I guess." "Well, stop it! Just... Eugene, please." The woman looks at the other knight, who's holding up a chicken leg towards a man who was also frozen in the fray. Okay. Yeah. Gerard, are you ready yet? I don't know what the intention was here. Gerard looks towards the door where Embraxel was ushered through, the one he wasn't able to make it through in time before he left. That went so fast.
My intention is to ensure evil doesn't befall our land. That's supposed to be all of our jobs here, I thought. He says, staring at the door. Jean's like, listen, he's just taking care of things while the queen is away. I don't think... And Gerard yells, the queen's body is 40 feet from you, fucking moron. Eugene stops and he looks over. He's like, the dessert table? Gerard, I think you hit your head. He's clouded all of you. You know what, Eugene? You're right. I am ready. He walks through Eugene holding the platter, and Eugene's like, all right, just trying to show you the VIP room. And as he gets Eugene, he hits him over the head with the platter, knocking him unconscious immediately. Everybody screams. One woman tries to throw a dagger, and Gerard he just catches it in his free hand and just gives a little slow nod, like, I suggest the rest of you stand down, and throws the dagger so hard it sticks into the concrete floor. And as he's walking to the door where Embraxel is, he stops for a moment and he thinks, Embraxel is the most gifted mage here. He couldn't challenge him, nor could Henrietta. But Sloane could, if they can convince her to tap into that which she fears. He turns, he looks at Eugene's body. Actually, I do need to head to the dungeon, you're right. And opens the door and starts sprinting through the castle. He runs past people who are in all manner of partying. He goes past people like having polite conversation to people devolving into full Bacall methods. He's quite confused on what sort of spell Embraxel has cast to convince everybody that, one, everything is fine, and two, to start acting outside of themselves. But whatever it is, he's distracting him from something very important, and he remembers. The Queen's birthday is a very important day in this queendom. Not just because it's her birthday, but there was always some sort of ritual that she did. Gerard didn't understand it. He doesn't really understand magic. But something is supposed to happen, and it was quite odd that the ceremonies were planned for her death on the day of her birth. They thought it was just a coincidence, but maybe it's not.
On the other side of the door, Braxel is pacing in his quarters and kind of mulling over, they must not interrupt it. They must not interrupt it, as he's pulling out papers from his desk, grabbing his books that he has written all of his secrets and notes in a shorthand code that nobody else can read. Kind of pouring through it, throws one at one of his pages, handlers, apprentices, and is like, here, take this, read it, find, make sure there's no, I know there's a prophecy in here somewhere about the interruption. I need to find it so we know how to stop it. And the apprentice is like, has not been taught anything, so is standing there furiously going through the book, not understanding anything that is written in it, because Braxel is too concerned about, being taken over. So he keeps them very limited. And he's going through, and he furiously goes through as many books as he can muster, and finally looks back over at the apprentice and is like, you have it. And like grabs the book that he threw at him, starts going through it and rummaging, and opens it up, and there's a picture of twin girls with lots of scrawling around it. And as he's furiously reading to try to see what exactly it means again, we cut over to Henrietta, who is slowly making her way into the cellar, and we see a much more cozy plant vibe. The place is definitely way overgrown, very dark, but there's a little bit of light in the distance and the rippling of water as she hears the fountain, the pool of Forgotten Embrace, almost calling to her in a way that she's never experienced before. And as she makes her way through, she feels a sense of returning home, maybe? Love? Not quite sure. And kind of takes a deep breath and starts just walking into it.
She walks through. She is holding that breath. Takes step, step, step. These brightly colored fish swim past. Sunlight and moonlight both seem to shine through the waters. It's only 10 steps before she finds herself walking up onto the edge of a beach, surrounded by mountains, the tides of the water pulling her into a hypnotic state. She just lays down on the beach, covered in salty water, taking a big breath in. I don't remember it being this easy, she thinks to herself. And as she lays there, much like the last time, she falls into a deep meditative state. And in this meditation, she fights monsters, kisses Gerard, saves the queendom. But her sister's never there. She keeps coming back and back and back to this idea of, I'm looking for ways to save Sloane, but the pool of memories just keeps driving her toward her own accomplishments, her own grandeur, her own abilities. She remembers one little vignette. She remembers a moment of her and her twin in their modest cottage in the countryside where her parents raised her. She's sitting in their room and she got the marbles to move on their own into the basket where they're kept. But just as she's screaming, Sloane, Sloane, look what I did! And she knows that her sister would enter through the doorway, the memory ends. Henrietta forcibly pulls herself from this meditation, stands up looking out into the waters, up to the sun and moon hanging in the sky, kicks the sand. Why won't you let me remember her? How do I save her? She screams to the sky. I can't let her go down for this. She didn't do it. I have to help her.
Or Henrietta, stands there for one or two beats before realizing, like, no one's gonna answer me here. I'm alone here. There's no one. And then she hears a voice. Well, aren't you a curious one? She quickly turns, looks over her shoulder, and standing there is a 10-foot tall vaguely human-shaped creature that seems to be made of swirling, living water. And every so often in the water, you see these little, like, globules appear that have, like, vignettes playing in them. Now, what is it you would like to pay with? Henrietta looks confused. What do you mean? You came here looking for someone's memories, right? Nothing is free, child. I thought I'd take the thing that seemed to be the most bothersome to you, so I could give you this. And this creature reaches into its chest and holds out a globule that is a memory of Umbraxel. You see Umbraxel walking up the parapet to the queen's quarters, and then the vignette sort of fades back out. And Henrietta says, "Yes, that's what I need. I need that. That's evidence. Of course he put it here. No one could know, but he would know that he did it. But of course, it's perfect. Yes. Well, that means I take this." And it holds up a globule that is Sloane's face. And she's like, No, that's not how it works. I just have to. Oh, I'm sure your parents told you all sorts of things in fairy tales, but nothing is free. Henrietta stands there, daunted and confused, as we move back and see Gerard reach the bottom of the staircase to the dungeon. And standing there is this massive figure in this gleaming armor. Capello? Hey, Jared. How's it going? You know my name isn't Jared. Well, maybe if you were for damn, I'd give a shit. How about that? You gonna let me through? You and I both know that's not gonna happen. Especially when you're carrying around that thing and points to this rusty sword that he has from the Mage of the Wood.
But then what?
Gerard looks down at his sword. Looks at Capello's whole thing. And like what? Holds it up. You afraid of this? This little thing? This rusty... This? Not a big guard like you. Go ahead, touch it. But Capello knows better. So he kind of stiffens up and is like, I'm not falling for your tricks. I heard what you did up there. I know about your past. But I still can't let you through. Gerard sighs. All right. Oh my god, the queen! And Capello turns, and Gerard kind of like does a 180 and runs down the hall. Thanks! And like heads down into the cellar, where you see a line of dungeons, and most of them are empty. And you see Sloane, who looks almost identical to Henrietta. Well, they are twins, Gerard thinks, so that would make sense. But sometimes you could, like, tell them apart. And she's... Gerard would expect her to be a little more sad, maybe, a little concerned, but she seems not concerned. She stands there, very confident, very determined, fully knowing that she didn't do anything wrong. And as he approaches, she quickly darts her eyes at him and gets like an image that sears into her brain of Henrietta lying in the pool. And then comes back and is like, you know my sister. And Gerard kind of...
He kind of stands up a little straighter. She sent me. And with that, the Sloane her eyes go over completely white. And she charges towards the bars, running into them briefly and then grabbing them. She's about to forget me. She's about to give up the memory of me for what you asked her to do. Go stop her. Go. How could you let her do that? And Gerard just looks confused. Where is she? Sloane looks back. The pool of memories. Go to the pool of forgotten memories. Gerard just says, shit. And in his clanking armor, begins to move and turn. But we can't let Umbraxel win. Sloane, then eyes come back. It's too late. It's finished. She looks at Gerard. And Henrietta looks the water creature. You promise this will give me that evidence, the evidence I need to save the kingdom, and my sister, she'll be fine, she'll live, she'll be free. I can promise I'll give you what you need, what you desire. Cannot promise what others do with their lives and their choices. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. I love you, Sloane. As the water creature takes the globule of Sloane's face from Henrietta, and the globule of Umbraxel enters into Henrietta's body, she feels sort of this thrill, this memory of Umbraxel going into the queen's room at night, taking the ink for her quill and replacing the ink there with a poison, knowing that the queen always was a bit messy with the way she wrote her letters, getting a little ink here, a little ink there on her hands. The deed would be done in a few days. It would take time, but she writes many letters.
He's a very patient man. I mean, he's been growing this nest egg of magic in her queendom under her nose for 25 years now. And it was time for this goose to get what it came for. But the queen needed to be out of the way. She does her little ritual and uses this magic to protect the queendom, and that's fine and all. He accounted for that in his equation of the magical energy he was acquiring, but that needed to stop. He's ready to consume it, become the most powerful magical being this world has ever seen. And from there, I mean, whatever he wants. We see Gerard running through the field of the sun, knowing that he didn't know what Sloane meant by it's too late, if Umbraxel already did it, or if Henrietta had already forgotten her, but he just needed to get there, he needed to get there fast. And he stopped running, he starts to peel off his armor, and he takes out that rusty sword one more time, and he says, "Ooh, I hope that mage was not playing a trick on me." And he stabs the sword into his foot, and he's, that sucks. My name is Gerard. I am friend of Fang and Claw, and I need to move with the speed of the forest. And he feels his body start to vibrate with power. And he starts to, there's this like, his heart starts to beat so fast he hears it in behind his eyes. He's like, okay, I think this is real. Okay. Oh, I really hate magic. And he takes off at a speed the world has never seen before to the pool of memories. And he runs so fast, there's a small streak of fire left in his wake. Not enough to cause damage, but enough that when he runs through the dark wood that nothing approaches him or tries to slow him down. As he reaches that door that Henrietta went through, just as it starts to open, and she comes out and she says, "Oh, Gerard, I did it. I got it. I know what Umbraxel did." And Gerard looks at her and says, "Who are we trying to save?" Says, "The Queendom, duh." "No, there's a person. Who's the person?" She's like, I mean, maybe Umbraxel has a spell to bring people back to life. We could save the queen." Gerard hangs his head low and says, "I was too much of a coward. It should have been me." And she's like, "What do you mean?"
And Gerard puts his hand on her shoulders like this and is like, "Now is not the time to explain. We need to get back to the castle." Does the name Sloane mean anything to you? And Henrietta just starts giggling like, "No, what do you mean? You've known me my whole life. Like, are you okay?" And he sighs one more time. He's like, "All right, let's go." And he picks her up and starts speeding his way back to the castle. As she is just in shock by what is happening right now, as the trees whiz by them. "You can do magic? Since when?" And he just shakes his head, completely ignoring everything she's saying as he runs back to the castle. And we cut to Umbraxel, who's in his study, rummaging through all of the paperwork, reading the prophecies, and on the page with a picture of the twins, he notices that in the back, there's a cellar door of the picture. And he throws the book on the ground and he's like, "No, we need to start this now." And goes to his apprentice, "Follow me." And he walks outside and heads back out to the banquet and starts almost conducting, as everyone in the banquet hall just seems to completely shift their goals and starts moving tables around and setting up like this kind of altar in the center, using the table that the queen's body is still on, the casket, and pushing it into the center of the room, eerily still going about as if this is all part of what we're here for, as if the fight never happened, as if everything has just been this way all along. And Umbraxel stands at the top, kind of calming down now. "All right, no, this is okay. This is fine. We have got this under control. This kingdom will be mine." "All right," and turns to his apprentice and says, go get the ritual items and come back here. And then we'll start this as soon as we can."
The apprentices shuffle off hurriedly and come back quickly. Some of them carrying more than what they can carry in their arms magically, being accomplished mages themselves. And the attendees of the banquet seem to begin to assemble themselves in a sort of constellation of triangles that form at its exterior a large star with this makeshift altar in the middle. Friends of the Queen, she asked if we would cast a grand protection on her castle while she is gone. And I need your help. Thank you for assembling in this manner. This shape will help us funnel all the magic that we can into an exterior bubble, an unknown, unseen force that will stop anyone who means to do harm to the kingdom from entering into its place. We must do this quickly. She has asked that it happen tonight. And as the apprentices continue to set up incense and stones and other sorts of natural materials around the altar, Umbraxel stands in the center. I will be the current of this protection. Remember, you will not see it once it is there. You will not know it exists. Birds and creatures will flow freely through it, but anyone who means to do the kingdom harm will be stopped. He continues to lie to the banquet goers, knowing the true intention is that he is going to get all the power from every mage in the queendom in a single incantation. He moves to the center. We will begin. He begins to start a long, almost hymn-like song incantation with breaks and pauses where he greedily sucks in breath before he continues. Gerard and Henrietta run with his bestial magic. They make it to the front gate. Caleppo and Eugene standing there waiting for them. We heard you'd be coming back, that you'd left and be back, and you're not allowed in. Gerard just looks at his fellow knights. Stand down or risk the death of many. But then what?
Paolo cracks his knuckles. I only see 2 trespassers who are at risk of dying tonight. Hannah's like, whoa, hey, we don't need to kill each other. We could settle this with, like, a game of Go Fish? Eugene's like, I actually wouldn't mind a game of Go Fish. Shut up, Eugene! Say Capello and Gerard in unison. Okay, I'll just wait back here. What is a Capello? Huh? You got the position. You wear the holy armor. What is it you want to take from me now? Pella's like, your head? That could be a good trophy. Fine. You and me. Let's go. Leave Henrietta out of it. Yeah, but I just can't let her go inside. And Capello looks, and Henrietta, once again, has slipped into some crack that she knows from childhood. Capello curses under his breath. We'll find her later. Let's go then. Eugene, give him your sword. Eugene's like, well, we're not really supposed to trade our service. Give him your fucking sword. Okay. Here you go, Gerard. I'll remind you once again, I would like to stay out of this, and whoever wins, I'll just sort of let you do what you're gonna do. This seems like some sort of thing between you two that doesn't involve me, I'll be honest. Once I got outside, I was kind of confused as to what my job was. Last thing I remember was being at home about a week ago. Gerard says, yeah, I'll explain everything to you later, bud. And takes Eugene's sword and stands about 10 feet from Capello and straightens his back. Alright, Capella. Let's see if wearing that fancy armor is finally enough for you to get the edge over on me, but... Gotta be honest, kid. It's been shit knowing you. And whoever wins, at least I don't talk to you anymore. And the two dash at each other. And as we see their bodies just about to meet, we find Henrietta sneaking through the castle. I'm not really sure what I am doing. Don't really know what the next step is. Kind of left the hero guy behind there, but I'm not trying to lose my head. Oh, sorry. She runs into someone in this small secret passageway who looks eerily like her. Turns to look at her. Henrietta? Yeah, that's me, and you would be...
Sloane takes a breath. You probably don't know me anymore. And Henrietta, very confused, is like, oh, do we know each other? Like before? And while Sloane deeply wants to get into it right now, especially since it's been a while, now it just doesn't seem like the time. And Sloane takes her hand and is like, I will explain everything later. I promise. However, right now, it's probably better for us if you don't know who I am. Because I don't know what kind of magic you got into, and I don't know if it's going to count as you getting a memory back or something. So can you just trust me? Because, like, we have the same face. Can that work for right now? And Henrietta, still kind of in shock with the scary woods and the Gerard suddenly having magic out of nowhere and whatever is happening right now, just quietly allows herself to be guided by Sloane, who turns back around and starts weaving her back into the depths of the castle, avoiding the dungeon, and coming to a corridor that is in a room that is adjacent to the banquet. And normally there would be people in this room, but there isn't. And you can hear Umbraxel and the apprentices chanting in the banquet, echoing through the hallways. And Henrietta kind of seems to come out of it a little bit and is like, okay, all right, what is going... That sounds like the bad guy. He did... Oh, I gotta stop him. And she starts like marching towards the door, and Sloane grabs her by the shoulders from behind and is like, no, we need to do this smart and safe. And holds her hand out, and she's like, grab my hand. I promise it'll be okay. As Henrietta
turns back. Look, I don't know you. It's weird you have my face. I am trusting you. You led me here. Thank you. You reminded me of what I'm supposed to be doing. Thank you again. I have an idea. What are those apprentices doing? As like through the slit in the door of where they're seeing like these apprentices marching with buckets full of magical materials still. They're taking this stuff in for the ritual. If I know what this spell is correctly, and I do, Sloane says, there's going to be some sort of like bath or something that happens. Like he needs to smear stuff on the materials on his body in a certain way as he finishes the incantation to seal the magic in from the materials into himself. Why don't we give him, maybe. A taste of his own medicine. Henrietta says, do you know, are you good at picking locks? She looks at Sloane, and Sloane just gets this sly smile. I can help. Great, this way! Henrietta begins to meander through the back ends of closets and stairwells, going through wardrobes into hidden compartments until they approach the office door of embarks, which is now locked, the last apprentice walking down the hall the opposite direction that they came. They unlock the door. Sloane does this quickly and easily. And inside, Henrietta finds a large bottle full of the poison ink that Embraxel had used to kill the queen. What if we put some of this and that and take one of those? She points to a row of apprentice cloaks on the wall. And just watch him go. Sloane, you've changed. I like it. Let's do it. And as they're getting themselves ready, disguising themselves and getting the ink in the proper container, we head back to Gerard. Steel clashing, rust coming off of his sword as Capello fights aggressively. Gerard stands stoically in defensive postures. You're not bad, Capello, he says between different blocks and maneuvers, sidestepping quickly one way or the other. But you're easy. You want it too bad. You're too aggressive. But then what?
You don't know what you're talking about. Your time is done. I wear the armor. I'm the hero. And Capello locks up. You see Capello. Gerard walks up to Capello, whose body is frozen in pace, shrouded in this, shimmering white light. There's one rule about the holy armor. Attacking someone with the intent to kill them without the necessary means of protecting your own life is not allowed. So I gave up the thing. Doesn't really fit my style, you know? Up there I was fighting people with butter knives. What's wrong with me? So, I believe the Council of Angels is going to have a talk with you. A nice long talk. For the next 200 years about how to properly use their gift. You have a good one. And we see Capello try to let out a scream as their body is enveloped in this white light and they are gone. Gerard looks at, over at Eugene, hands him back his service sword, and also stabs the rusty sword into the ground. Eugene, do I have to hit you with a dinner plate again? No, I'm good. I'm great. I've been sitting here thinking, Embraxel did something to me, right? Yeah. I'm guessing the spell wore off once you got outside the castle? Yeah, I got outside and I felt... First of all, I didn't know where I was. And then Capello said we were here to arrest you, and I was like, that sounds weird. I was having dinner with the missus, and then the kiddo wanted me to read them a book, and then I was outside the castle, so I was like, oh, I must have plumb forgot my keys back at the office again, I thought, and he goes into this whole thing, she was like, shh, I need you to get me back up there. Can you do that? Yeah, if I go under the spell again, if you hit me with another dinner plate, could you not hit me over the head? Punch me in the gut or something, you know? Like, a bruise on the head is so hard to explain to friends and family who haven't been compelled by some sort of evil wizard. Yeah, sure. And as the two go inside and go back up, we find ourselves back with Sloane and Henrietta. And Sloane's like, you know, the real bummer that this is how we get reunited. And Henrietta's like, you keep saying stuff like that? She says, peeking up under this, evil wizard, apprentice cloak. You keep saying stuff like that, and it's, getting weird, I'll be honest. But you have this whole, golf girl vibe that is kind of cool, but you gotta like talk normal, like, hi, what's your name? Stuff like that.
Sloane sighs heavily this time. I was like, ugh. When we're not around each other for a while, I kind of forget you're like this. And as they continue on, Henry's like what? And someone's like, shh, okay, we gotta focus. As I start walking into the banquet hall, looking around, trying to follow the cadence of the other apprentices who clearly seem to be in some sort of state. And as the audience just sees these oversized robes on these somewhat small people. So the cloak is and the sleeves are just hanging off, and they've got holding on almost they're playing dress up, which they are. And they fall in line, and the apprentices are making their way into the banquet hall, and you see each set, as they are walking in doubles, walks into the banquet hall, goes up to the altar, and drops off something at the foot of Umbraxel as he is chanting, which he doesn't seem to be running out of breath. He doesn't seem to be breathing, really, either. It's more just a continuous tone coming out of his body with no pause. And as the ritual carries on, it gets louder and louder, almost as if it's amplifying in the room. But he doesn't seem to be straining. There's no projection happening. It's just... And they get into this line, one holding the poisoned ink, the other one holding some other things that they found. And with each step, both of them, their heart starts beating faster in their chest. They start to notice the little details about how their uniforms are hanging off of them differently than the other apprentices. And as they keep continually to get closer and closer to Umbraxel, Sloane, knowing full well what is happening, starts feeling smaller and smaller and smaller, as a flashback comes to them of a time when Henrietta and her were separated by Umbraxel. And she waves it off.
She waves it off, although her magic is beginning to drain with the expanse of the ritual. She looks towards Henrietta, just kind of whispers toward her, "It's always been you, kid. It's always been you." She slinks through the crowd of people until slowly she, in unison with every other assistant except Henrietta in the room, slumps over. They all fall as if fainted at the same time. Umbraxel's eyes begin to glow a deep orange red. Henrietta looks around, trying to decide whether or not she should play along. She's dropped the poison at the appropriate place, and she watches as Umbraxel fills his goblet from it, this drone chant emanating from him. He raises the cup, and at that time, Gerard bursts through the door, first seeing Sloane running to her. It's Sloane," she says as he picks her up, and Sloane weakly points towards her sister, who seems to be unaffected. Henrietta continues to step back. Umbrexel fills the goblet. Gerard moves toward Henrietta. No one in the room seems to notice him. Eugene standing in the doorway watching all of this happen. A flash of lightning crackles in the room. And then another. Henrietta trips over the length of her robe as she continues to walk backwards, falling onto her bum. Gerard runs toward her, behind her, his rusty metal rubbing up against the cloak. Are you okay? I'm okay. He's got the poison. I don't know if it's enough. Umbraxel drinks deeply from the goblet. The chant doesn't end, though. It's as if it's emanating off of his body. Sloane fully slumps to the ground. The rest of the apprentices fully fall, heads hit with a quiet, gentle thud upon the floor. And one by one, the banquet goers begin to chant as well. Almost like piano keys hit into chords, into action around. Gerard. But then what?
Gerard looks at Henrietta. That's what your sister meant. That's what she meant. Okay. Henrietta, you have to listen to me. So very, very long time ago, before even I was a knight, there was a prophecy. And, okay, speedrun. The twins, one magic, one... it's you. You're the chosen one. You're the knight. It's you. It's not me. It was never me. People thought it was me my whole life, and frankly, it was a little annoying. It's you. And he was like, what do you mean? I do magic. I don't know. Use a sword. No, don't. Okay. So, like, knights are like a title, right? So there's like cooks, and then there's like queens, and then there's like stuff in between. Not that cooks are the lowest on the totem pole, but like, there's like a garbage disposal person. Like, knight's just a title. You don't need a sword to be a knight. Like, it's you. You're the one, and you have to take Umbraxel down. No one else can do it. And she's like, with what? Earlier I knocked over teacups. And I was like, oh, okay, I gotta think. What's like your favorite thing to use to fight people? She's like, I actively hate fighting. Actively. You took me on one adventure once and I didn't lift a single finger to fight anything. I just kept patching you up. Anytime you got hurt. Huh. She looks over at the queen's body. I could heal you. What are you thinking, Henrietta? Something really stupid, which is always what you do, so I have a feeling it's the right thing to do. And Gerard's like, okay, I'll try to slow him down, I guess? And Eugene's like, well, you won't do it alone. This guy's running game night. Eugene hands Gerard a spare sword. Eugene, you're alright. That's what they say down at Yacht Club. You have a yacht? Yeah. My family does quite well for ourselves. What do you do with your stipend? Carouse, mostly. Oh, she pays us a lot of money here. You carouse that much? You and I have got to find you a different hobby, friend. And the two, levy their blades and run full-heartedly at Umbraxel, who just lets off a fools, and swipes one hand, and these shadowy creatures come up from the ground and start engaging them in combat, keeping them away from him as he continues to drink from the goblet. You think mere poison will stop me, child? He says over Henrietta.
But then what?
Okay. For once in her life, Henrietta takes herself seriously, because if it's one thing she hates, it's being humiliated in public by some man. So she, as Gerard and Eugene are lunging toward, Braxel, Henrietta takes that time and she kind of makes her move and goes in her sneaky way, slides under the table, like under Umbraxel, under the table, comes out the other side, and finds herself looking directly at the queen's casket in front of her. Very regal, very, like, you could tell by the casket that the town really loved their queen. And it's a shame, she says, that people have forgotten you already. And she looks deep inside herself. She goes, okay, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. I don't think I can do this. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And she hears, like, thuds as Eugene and Gerard are both thrown onto the floor, and yells as they get up and start charging again. And she just reaches deep inside her, and she starts hearing the voices. You don't belong here. You need to leave. This isn't for you. And they start just, like, waving over her and over and over her. And she at first is like, what are you even doing here? This is not the forest. What is going on? And it gets stronger and stronger. And eventually she just starts kind of starting to go in on herself, except for this time she realizes this is happening and instead puts her hands on the casket at the last minute as she falls to her knees and lets out the biggest scream that she's ever let out as white light shoots not just from her, but from the casket and envelops the whole banquet in a flash. Gerard and Eugene are knocked back onto the ground. Umbraxel's goblet is thrown from his hand, and he, for the first time, is completely stunned and slowly turns around and sees Henrietta on the floor, but she's weakly lifting the casket, opening it up with as much strength as she can muster left.
I'm going to forego my turn because I think we're coming to a conclusion and pass it to Austin.
The casket flies open the rest of the way. The queen sits up and looks at Henrietta. You've done quite well, young one. I've got it from here. She gets out. She was buried, or meant to be buried, in her ceremonial royal armor. She was a warrior queen. Well, is. She's still here. After all. She looks at Umbraxel. Now, what was it? I was gone for the weekend? Well, I suppose Mommy's home then. And she doesn't run at Umbraxel. She doesn't say an incantation. She doesn't even pull out the sword on her hip. She just looks at him and says, wither and know nothing but pain. And Umbraxel starts to fold in on himself. Once, 4 times, 8 times, 16, until all that is left is a small black marble floating in the air. And she walks over and crushes it between her finger and her thumb. And the dust floats away on the breeze. She then turns and looks at the room and lets out a long sigh and says, Oh, my people. I'm sorry I failed you in this way. And she holds up one hand and begins to mutter an incantation to the heavens. And this white light appears again, and it starts to right the room. Things are put back on tables. The tables are set upright. People's wounds are healed. Everyone starts to sit up, groaning. And this white light goes out from the castle and floods through the queendom, undoing anything that Umbraxel had done. Henrietta sits up and says, Holy shit. I can't believe I did that. Wait. Oh, why does my head hurt? Where am I? And Sloane sits up and walks over to her. Well, you just fulfilled a 200-year-old prophecy and resurrected a half-angel warrior queen. And there's like a lot of other stuff to catch you up on too. Okay, so why do you look like me? Would you believe it if I said I'm your sister? And Henrietta looks at her. She gets this like very pensive look on her face. Sloane? And everything fades to black.
Yes! Heck yes! I like to imagine that Gerard then swoops in and kisses Henrietta or something. I loved you the whole time.
He definitely does like a I can't believe you did it moment. For sure. I think there's like a little epilogue of like everyone like carrying around Henrietta and cheering. There's like a big parade, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. That was so good. Thank y'all for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Thanks you for listening, watching, wherever you are. Hope you enjoyed it. That's the end of our story for today. But you can find my lovely co-hosts other places. Austin, where can folks find you? What are you up to?
You can find me anywhere I want to be found on the internet at Sailor Austin, at Sailor SCT Austin, or you can find me on your favorite podcasting platform on the podcast Secret Histories and Nerd Mysteries. That's Secret History and Nerd Mysteries, wherever you get podcasts, or become a Maximum Fun member today, right now today, and get access to all of our bonus content. We have a whole bonus podcast called Ain't No Rules Says a Dog Can't Play Sports, where we go through every Air Bud movie.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I love
We've done
so much.
3 so far. So there's 2 more left that are focused on Buddy before the puppies, and we don't know if we're going to do the puppies. We might do the puppies if enough people become members. We'll see. If you become a member, support the show.
Oh my
email
gosh!
us
Everybody become members. No, I need this in my life.
So yeah, those are the places you can find me. Other than that, I'm an award-winning game writer, designer, performer, and friend. My most recent game I just finished as of this recording was Kids in Capes. That's all done, and the backer kit's done. The Kickstarter's done, so you'll have to see if the publisher's going to do pre-orders, or just wait for it to drop. It's being published by Hunters Entertainment, and other than that, I don't have anything else I can talk about.
Well, you, Jen, where can folks find you?
Well, I can't follow a podcast about Airbud. Like, come on. No, I'm kidding. That's amazing. I'm Jenn /Youngles. I guess best known for Itaewon by Night, but I do lots of things in the TTRPG performance space. And I also am virtual assistant to some lovely spicy content creators. So if you ever need help with that, that's what I do for my day job. I have stuff coming, but I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about. So just follow along on my Twitter because I haven't gotten used to using the other platforms as much yet. So that's still the main place I yell into the void.
Love it. And I'm Sierra, aka Mystic. I'm here all the time. If you don't know me, I am the founder and creative director of Autumn Moon Studio. That's where you are right now. By day, I am a game producer for Dungeons and Dragons at Wizards of the Coast. This is the show. It's happening. This is only the 3rd episode. There's a whole season before this and more to come after. So if you liked what you're hearing, please subscribe, send over a coffee, buy us a coffee, help pay these incredible cast members. However you want to support and follow along for the studio is great. What else? We have a collection of short stories that came out last year. It's still for sale. You can still get it. And our flagship show, Utopia, is coming to an end. If you're not currently listening, this 3-year-long D&D 5e campaign is going to be ending very soon. So be sure to tune in there. If you want to catch up, there's lots of little recaps along the way to jump in. Not from the beginning, but wherever you feel like you have time to to jump in. I know that like 200 episodes is a lot. And that's it. Thank y'all for being here. I super appreciate it. We'll see y'all next time.